Hey everyone, it's Dr. Heather Austin Robillard, and today's lecture is going to be over using a human development model for creating a prevention program. In the lifespan lecture, you discussed why understanding lifespan is important for substance use, and in this we'll talk about how using a specific developmental theory can be useful in understanding substance use and how to intervene with it. Using a developmental theory enhances the services that prevention providers can give their clients. It provides tools that are custom to fit the program, either physically, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. The typical academic theories that you'll hear in this program, you might have already heard in some of your intro to psychology classes, either in high school or in college. Those include Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, Piaget, Erikson, and we'll talk about one other as well. Most human developmental theories believe that humans are in a constant state of change from the time that they're born until the time that they die, and each theory has different ideas on what these types of changes are and when they take place. So let's first take a look at Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Maslow developed a theory on the hierarchy of what human needs might be. These are based on two groupings, either the deficiency of those needs or the growth of those needs. The deficiency needs are the lower needs on the pyramid. These must be met before they can move to the higher levels. As you can see, the first four deficiency levels included in are the psychological needs like hunger, thirst, bodily comforts, then safety and security needs. Belongings and love are being affiliated and accepted by others. Esteem is to gain approval and recognition. Once these needs are met, individuals can act on some of their growth needs. These growth needs include cognitive or understanding needs that are aesthetic needs like symmetry, order, and beauty. Maslow's basic position for his theory is that one has to become self-actualized and self-transcendent. Self-actualization is to find fulfillment in oneself and to realize their potential. Self-transcendence is to connect to somebody beyond ego and to help others find self-fulfillment. So when you look at Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs and you use this information, how do you think a preventionist should use this information? Maybe it's how can we get these individuals to the ultimate goal of self-actualization and self-transcendence. Then you build your prevention program to meet these basic deficiency needs and then going into what are their growth needs and how can we get them to end the program in self-actualization. So by using this theory, it can give you a guide on which each stage of your prevention program is in order to meet that upper level. Then we come to Erik Erikson's psychosocial developmental model. He developed 8 stages that each have a psychosocial crisis in them. And according to this theory, a successful completion of each stage results in a healthy personality and acquiring a basic virtue. Prevention specialists use this theory to determine what is important to know on the specific beliefs, emotions, behaviors, and what's to be expected. They can also figure out how to help accomplish each task of the stage. Another question to consider as a preventionist is what concerns are important to consider in each psychosocial development. Therefore, when people get stuck, it's up to the preventionist to help them identify the stage and the tools to help them get unstuck. Let's take a look at some of those stages so that we can understand how to do this. Stage 4 is industry versus inferiority. This is for children ages 5 to 12, and the success at this stage will lead them to the virtue of competence. If children are encouraged, they begin to feel confident in their ability, and if it's not encouraged, they begin to doubt their own abilities. Now, you might be thinking, why would it be important to understand substance use for somebody as little as 5? But we're recognizing in prevention programs that earlier and earlier intervention is beneficial for those later problems in adolescence or adulthood. And in this stage, this is when children begin to develop their self-esteem through interactions with others. Parents are typically their strongest advocates and for their children's level of self-esteem. So this could be a good point to really focus on the family and their prevention program. Research shows that more supervision of a child's behavior, the less likely they are to try illegal drugs. And children with low parental supervision are 3 times more likely to try drugs in their later years. So concerns in this stage are utilizing the power of impacting parents on their own children. So the closer the relationship we have with a parent and child, establish the lower risk of those children engaging in illegal behaviors. Next is stage 5, which is typically during adolescence, and that's typically where a lot of our prevention programs already start. During this stage, adolescents re-examine their identity, mainly 2 identities that include their sexual and occupational identity. Success in this stage will lead to fidelity, which involves being able to commit oneself to others on the basis of accepting others when they may be different. In response to the other side, it could be role confusion or identity crisis, and adolescents may begin to experiment with different lifestyles, including drugs. In this stage, adolescents begin to develop self-understanding, self-concept, and self-esteem, and they have unpredictable social climate. This provides some concerns for this stage because addiction has a strong tie in the social real, and addiction doesn't have to be a drug, it can also be a behavior. So this is the time where we see people experimenting with drugs just to kind of find who they are and specific peers that they might have. Stage 6, which is known as the young adult stage, these are when individuals begin to search for companionship or love. Individuals begin to search for these relationships that provide intimacy, or if they're not able to find intimacy, then they might fall into the realm of isolation. Isolation is a downward spiral to drug use and may occur alongside with isolation. Significant relationships to consider in this stage include intimate partners and close friends. Research has found that couples in which one or both partners continue to use illicit drugs is correlated with a lower couple satisfaction. A concern for this stage is that addicts tend to show less emotion, making intimate connections difficult to maintain. This often results in further isolation. In stage 7, individuals are typically in their middle age and they are focused on work and family. It is when people can take greater responsibility and control. Individuals work towards establishing generativity, which is the attempt to produce something that makes a difference to society. Inactivity and meaninglessness are common fears in this stage. This stage begins some decline in cognitive ability. Fluid intelligence is the ability to deal with new problems and situations, and crystallized thought is the storage of information, skills, and strategies that people acquire through experience. A concern for this stage is there may be major life shifts like losing a job, having small children, changing career. This is where these life stages can bring about coping through alcohol or drugs. In stage 8, we have older adults who may be feeling of integrity or contentment and fulfillment. They want to know if they've made a valuable contribution to society. Others may have a sense of despair and may fear death as they struggle to find purpose for their lives. The most important relationships will usually be families, and there can be strong sense of depression, which can lead to a lack of care in oneself, with an increase of time to seek purpose in their life as well. Piaget's stages of cognitive development, these are 3 components of his theory: schemas or building blocks of knowledge, adaptation process that enables the transition from one stage to another, and then, of course, stages of development. His stages of development are sensory motor, which is when a child begins to recognize his self as an agent of action and acts with intention. Pre-operational stage begins the use of language, but thinking is still egocentric, which makes it difficult to take on viewpoints of others. Concrete operational allows children to begin to think logically about objects and events. Formal operation allows them to think logically about abstract things. They may be hypothetical, the future, ideological problems. Piaget states that there are 3 types of learning: physical, logical or mathematical, and then social. The last theory we will talk about is a new one that you might, is one that you might not have heard of. This is the medicine wheel. This is a Native American concept that represents a non-linear model of human development. This is different than our typical linear models that go through stages. Each part of the compass offers lessons and gifts that support the development of a balanced individual. The idea is to remain balanced in the middle of the wheel while developing equal parts of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of one's personality. Different groups or tribes attributed different gifts to the positions of this wheel. The physical part of the wheel, represented by east, spring, and yellow, this is usually represented at birth. The mental is represented by south, summer, and the color red, and it usually means youth. Emotional is represented by the west, fall, and the color black, and this is usually during adulthood. And spiritual is represented by north, winter, and the color white, and can usually be found in elders. So the idea of developing a prevention model for this, using the Native American medicine wheel, is to get individuals to be as balanced as they can in each of those areas. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about human developmental models and how you might be able to use those when creating a prevention program, thinking about what stage would be the best to integrate your prevention model, and then what is the overall goal of each stage is using the human development model of your prevention program.